Well, the issue of hijacked buildings, property mismanagement and corruption has once again reared its ugly head, with the Marshalltown fire claiming over 70 lives. And for more on what the province is doing around creating a smart city, improving infrastructure and balancing developments with affordable housing, I am now joined by Gauteng's MEC for Human Settlements and Infrastructure Development, that's Lebogang Maile. Thank you so much for your time, MEC. A disaster that has struck Gauteng, which of course is the biggest economy in South Africa, and a lot of property owners saying that this comes as little surprise, that what we're seeing in Marshalltown is the issue of hijacked buildings, neglected buildings in city centres has been long-standing. How is your department responding to this latest tragedy?
Good evening. Thanks for having us. And we want to reiterate our condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones, and we would like to wish those who are in hospital a speedy recovery. Indeed, it's a tragedy, and it's very unfortunate that a lot of people have died today. And we have previously warned against criminal syndicates and cartels that are preying on the vulnerable, poor people who are in desperate need of houses, because we have a lot of people coming to our province every year. To be exact, nothing less than 230,000 people. And as we speak, there's a shortfall of about 1.2 million houses in Gauteng, and we can't afford to give everyone a house, as we've previously said, and that's why we've put a number of measures in place, including looking at rental stock, looking at those who are poor and old, and sometimes are orphans who can't afford to rent or buy houses for themselves, and we build RDP houses for those. And we're looking as well at those who are a missing, we'll call them a missing middle. They are working, but they're not earning enough. And we have a subsidy that we provide for them. And there are those who can afford to get bonds for themselves. So we do have a multi-approach, but it's clear that government alone will not be able to solve this huge crisis of housing in our province.
Yeah, and MEC, just talking about that influx of people, both South Africans and from the rest of the continent, coming to Johannesburg, of course, to be closer to those economic opportunities, and saying that governments cannot do it alone. Smart cities, or the strategy around smart cities, was really touted to help alleviate some of those pressures, and was to be both public and private sector working on that. Could you tell us how far we are with creating those smart cities that help cities operate better and be managed better?
We've got at least approved 59 projects of what we call mega smart cities, and these are projects that have been proposed by the private sector in the province, and we are working on building nothing less than 10,000 houses per project. Some of those projects have proceeded well. Some of them have not, because of a number of challenges, including funding and bulk infrastructure. But we are working with some of the private sector partners. Just last week, Friday, we were handing over rental stock in one of the successful smart, or rather a mega project called Riverside in Johannesburg, where more than 10,000 houses have been built since 2016. And we are building more in that specific project. We've got other projects like in Elijah Bahai, other projects in Ekurhuleni, Clayville, and many others. But it is clear that the pace with which these projects are moving is not fast enough. And that's one of the areas that we have to focus on.
And then we see what we saw in Joburg is really a mix of South African citizens, as I said, but also those who have lost loved ones from other parts of the continent. In that strategy, as we ensuring that more infrastructure is put for South Africans in cities, are we considering those people that are coming from outside of the continent, because they also then go to those cities and live in those buildings as well?
In the this tragedy that transpired in Johannesburg, that one specifically, we have said that we are not going to treat people based on their nationalities, because there is an intervention that we are putting in place for the survivors who need accommodation. We have identified about 3 buildings. They will be moved there. So I think we should separate that from the broader issue that I'm going to raise, so that we don't confuse matters or send a confusing signal. Having said that, there are foreign nationals who are illegal, who are in the country, and those will have to be deported. We have to get the Home Affairs and other relevant law enforcement agencies to intervene there. You've got foreign nationals who are working here, some of them are asylum seekers, and they qualify to be here. When we plan, we can't avoid planning for them, because they are in the province and they are in the country. So I think that distinction is very important, so that we don't send a confusing signal.
MEC, we have run out of time, but thank you so much for your time. Of course, that's the MEC for Gauteng, MEC for Human Settlement and Infrastructure Development, Lebogang Maile.